He's a reggae and hip hop artist, as well as the author of Rise and Climb, building it all alongside his San Jose music studio and real estate business. A true multi hyphenate. Ben Barbic, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I'm so interested. I felt like the more that I read about you, learned about you, there was like a whole other venue and like industry to get into with
Yeah.
you. So there's a lot to get to. But obviously, like from a music podcast, me being a music producer myself, I'm very interested in that. And so music wise, because you have a very cool like blend of genres in your sound, how would
hmm
you kind of describe your own music to someone who hasn't heard it?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like the California reggae feel with some dance hall involved in it. And then I come from a hip hop background. So, lyrically it's kind of like the Damian Marleys or those type of artists that is kind of what I bring to the table. And then, recently I've been doing some acoustic music too. So that's been fun to kind of
Yeah.
just flip it completely the other direction and sit there with somebody with a guitar and just a mic, So I've been enjoying that too.
How do you approach that? Is it a new process? Because I wanted to get into your latest song, "Thank You" with John. I know
Oh
Iacono.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I just listened to it before we got on here, and I loved it. It was like very Ed Sheeran, like rapping over acoustic guitar style stuff, which I love. And so take me
Yeah.
into making that song, anything like that.
Yeah, man, that song um was kind of a perspective of lyrically, I wanted to kind of reintroduce me to some people, because I think in life sometimes people have assumptions on who you are and what you've done. So it kind of was like I kept picturing myself shaking hands with someone who had thought they knew me and was like, "Hey, I'm Ben. Nice to meet you." And I thought it was just a really powerful image in my head. So I rolled forward with kind of that perspective. And then the way that me and John work is kind of interesting because he'll kind of just he's always kind of been into my music and I don't want to say a fan of my music, but he's been really into it, man. And so he was
Yeah,
passionate to work. And so I think he really understands where I want to go vocally. So when he sent over the guitar, it was like, okay, I had it, I think 2 days, but on something like that, I need to be in the right mind state, like I can't be in my like happy, I'm enjoying my day. I have to have some like something where it's like a little melancholy, and I
yeah,
had this day where I was like, man, I kind of feel a little bit unhappy today, a little bit melancholy, and there's something I want to say, and there's some things stored up. So I love it when I feel a little different than like my resting state, because then
yeah.
it's like the fuel's different, And so that's what I felt with Thank You. And just to take it further, I mean, just when it's just an acoustic guitar, it's like a whole different thing from what I'm used to, where there's rhythms underneath and it's this beautiful music bed, and it forces me to go much more I can't hide behind anything, if you will, you're just there with the guitar. And so I've enjoyed that process because it's more of a new thing for me, and we're gonna start doing some shows like that where we're performing like that, where it's like, I'm used to again going up,
That's
you got a
awesome.
whole rhythm underneath it, and now it's just a guitar. And so I've enjoyed the practice of that because it's like it's such a unique vulnerability where it's just like again, just like a guitar. It's like I was telling him, I'm like, man, sometimes I just want to practice these a cappella because like that's the only other place you can go vulnerable wise
Yeah.
when you just have a guitar. Like it's just a cappella, do it to a click. So anyway, that's long-winded, but that's thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and that's all awesome. It really helps me understand where you were at, because
Yeah.
I think there is something like, and anything with like solo piano, solo acoustic guitar, like you said, there is something a bit melancholy about it, or like you can't be overtly happy or overtly like
Right.
upbeat with it.
Yeah.
There is a chill vibe to it, which is nice. And you, it seems like you work collaboratively a lot. I saw like a bunch of songs with Elbow Prod, Benny
Yeah.
Amelia's. Like,
Yeah.
what makes you want to continue working with the same artists?
I think it's like we try one, see how we work, see how we collaborate, see how people accept how we accept each other as artists too. Because
Mhm.
when we're doing collaboration, a lot of times um, I'll get sent something, and then I'm a studio engineer and things, so like I'll hear something that maybe isn't in it as it sits. And then it's like, okay, I'm not trying to insult what they created in any way. I'm
Yeah.
trying to just say, my interpretation of it needs this change. You know what I mean? And so when it's very collaboratory, and then they could say this thing about my vocal, I send it to them. They're like, I don't know, like that first verse is a little too hot, man, or like you came in like that didn't have the oomph or like whatever. And so just being able to be honest about the back forth, and then even the
Yeah.
mix, and so Elboa's done that, Benny's done that, and I've been grateful for all the different collaborations I have, but it's fascinating when it's like someone stays in your life for a while, like, all right, you made one,
Yeah.
you made two, and now you've made, I think with Elboa, man, we've made so many. I mean, it's probably like 20. So it's like I got another one he's sending today, because it's like we're enjoying it, the audience is enjoying it. So like it kind of makes it a beautiful combination, and
Yeah.
you
Well, and you
enjoy the
can
work. Yeah.
you enjoy it and you can start working faster. You start knowing, okay, he likes this, doesn't like this, or when there's any kind of communication, if they use a certain word, if they're trying to describe something, you can usually understand it a bit faster, their taste a bit more. And so it's just like a compounding effect that makes it easier and easier as you continue working.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, exactly. And I think sometimes when you get into it a little more, then they can kind of hear the vocal on it when they're making it to where, like I think that's part of production is like leaving that space within it for the frequencies that my voice would go into
Yeah.
it. So it's like it's already kind of there. I might have to side chain out some things in EQ, but like, it's
Yeah.
there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so that's nice too. Because sometimes, man, it's like for vocals especially, I have to like fight through the rhythm, and then like I'll mute the rhythm and like the vocals have space, but like when I'm competing with an instrument and I'm not paying attention, then it gets a little bit complicated. I
Hmm.
know we're getting into the weeds of song production here, but like
No,
I
yeah,
think
I
that's
love it. I love it. Let's get
okay.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So do I. I could talk about this all day.
I
But so
know.
that's what that's one of the things I learned is like if I'm fighting against something, I need to understand like either I have to really tone down the vocal or change it or take that instrument out or again, or you could, just massively sidechain it to when the vocal hits, it warbles down and gives you that space. But
Hmm.
that's one of the things that I think, with producers, I love is when there's that flow within it and it kind of just fits on its own, without having to do anything.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And have like finding ways to keep elements or add elements that are there, but like you can hardly notice, or you got to really focus
Yeah.
on it. I forget the exact song, but I was just listening to something like intentionally listening with a like producer mindset, and there was some rhythm, some instrument like in the background for the chorus, and then
Hmm.
the verse comes in, and it's one of those songs that like sounds like it really opens up, like a lot of things stop, and
Right.
I realized that some instrument just got like heavily low pass EQ'd and very like turned the volume all the way down, but it's still there like really quietly in the background, and you can like hear it
Yeah.
continuing through. And it's
Oh
like
yeah.
just the little details like that where it gives that a certain energy or just enough energy to like have you keep feeling it, but it's not taking over or like being just as loud as the chorus.
Yeah, man. I love getting into the weeds on that stuff. Like a sound that you can't hear on its own, but if you mute it, it's not there.
Yeah.
And like you mute everything and you solo it, and it's like, oh yeah, that thing's not that low, but like it's just blending perfectly in there. I like that same thing with vocals, like sometimes, backup vocal. Like
Oh yeah.
I love the things that are kind of really tweaking around. You're right. You're really
Yeah.
getting into it, but it gives it something where you're just like, man, that does like no one will ever know that's there, but that really is giving it, whatever it is, the harmonics or just a little noise boost, a little volume boost, or just, filling it out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And then I realized that you had a couple albums, including Improve the Silence in 2018, and since then have been more focused on like singles or shorter projects. Do you have any plans for going back to like a bigger album, a bigger project like that, or do you think you're sticking mostly to singles for now?
Yeah, so I have two thoughts in general on that. So I am doing an album for the book Rise and Climb. So I'm finishing
Okay.
that now and it's going out October 15th. So that's the album I'm queuing up. So it's cool because I got new
Gotcha.
renditions of the songs that I made that I mentioned in the book, and then I got
Cool.
some fresh ones and I got some acoustic ones with John, and I got just a bunch of cool stuff in there. But I think in general I work better for completion with singles. Like, because singles
Yeah.
is like it's not this overwhelming thing where you're like, okay, I got 12 songs. I got to make them all flow together. I got to make sure the level's the same. I got to master them the same. I got to, and so I just noticed that albums I tend to stick on and then I'm not putting out music. I'm like stuck on the album,
Yeah.
and then I could overthink it or like singles have just worked for me as a flow thing to keep music going out. And I just like, I love the process, dude. Like,
Yeah.
when you click it and
It's
you're like or send it off when I release it through the label, like I just love that it's all right. I got that one coming out here and I got that one coming out over here, and it's just like a perpetual excitement thing to me that I enjoy. So I think they're both relevant. Um, I think an album like for me though, it has to have a real meaning and a tie together, like a through line. You
yeah,
know, um,
absolutely.
I don't know how you feel on that, but like that's kind of how I approach
I
album.
I agree that it has to have that, or if even obviously there are albums out there that don't have that, and it's like, hey, I have whatever songs, just put them together, call it an album. Those two like just don't hit as hard or connect as well as the albums with some kind of through line, anything like that. And so it's you always want a nice like cohesive thing to all the songs in an album or in a project.
Yeah.
Um, I was gonna say something. Oh yeah, with the workflow thing, did you find that that also helps you kind of like compartmentalize the songs you're making to be like
Yeah.
this one's working on it. Let's get it ready for release, released, move on. And this one we're working on it, like getting ready, and like really focus in on whatever process or whatever stage it's in.
Totally. Yeah, because I could just lock in on that one and like just say, okay, this
Yeah,
one's sometimes there'll be like three or four of them that are ready to go, but like one's just ready to come out. You know what I mean? Like it's like, okay,
yeah,
these are three. Like I got one from John I'm working on. I got one from Elboa. I got one from my guy over in Italy, Majori. I got to do. And so it's like today after we get off, it's like which one is burning the strongest to go after, and that kind of dictates a lot of the direction I take. And then I know I'm not going to hit any sticking points. Like, because I think for a while, man, I would be like working on the same song for like 2, 3 weeks or even a month, redoing the vocal. And I just wasn't the real reason was I didn't find the identity I wanted to bring to the track vocally. And so that's where the struggle happens. But when you're working more singles, it's like it doesn't have to fit with the album. It can just be this is its own identity. The vocals can go where they want. And then it's like kind of going back to like thank you. Like I wouldn't be ready to record thank you today because that's not my vibe. So like
hmm
you can then have these different options. That being said, I think there is a through line to my music, right? It's just because my book is that. It's like the music I've made through my life. So when you put it into an album, it makes sense because it's the whole journey. So
yeah,
that's I don't want to be conflicting in my thoughts on this, but that's kind of the piece too. It's like if enough time goes on, then it's like, oh yeah, these all make sense because they're all part of like my life journey,
yeah.
you know?
It shows a progression. There's something. Calvin Harris has some albums like that where like it's songs that he kind of worked on sporadically, worked on with different artists, but then he'll call it like 12 months, or I think the latest one's like 96 months or something. And it's like just these are the songs I made in the last year, the last however many years, and like just a more of a like compilation or like kind of showing his progression or his sound in a certain era, which I think is really cool.
I do
Um,
too. I do
yeah,
too. I think
you.
and when that allows you to be more free with it than like, okay, this is my concept, like, no, this is
Mhm.
my life. This is what I made. So I like that. That's a
Yeah,
good point.
yeah.
Hey heroes, sorry to interrupt that podcast episode, which I hope you are enjoying, but I wanted to tell you about my clothing line, Quest Clothing. Ever since I started really pursuing YouTube and music and all these creative things that I do, I've dreamed about starting this clothing line specifically. I had the name, I had the idea like for years before I started it, and now it's finally here. You can wear clothes like this. I have sweatshirts available, t-shirts, even clothing for like my music with cover arts and lyrics and things like that. It's all super, super cool. And right now is the best way for you guys to support me across everything I do. So be sure to check out the Quest Clothing web store with the link in the description and follow at Shop Quest Clothing on Instagram for updates about collections, discounts, things like that. Anyways, I don't want this self-sponsorship to take too long, so let's get back to the episode.
Let's dive into the book. You keep bringing it up, and it's one of the main things that like we touch on while like reaching out and coordinating this. But the book Rise and Climb, tell me more about like writing it, the process of that, and then also what it actually contains and what readers can learn from it, things like that.
Yeah. So, well, it ties into music, so it's a beautiful connection, you know. Like I was just in an airport going to do a show, and I was just really fascinated by the chain of events that got me to that spot. And I was like, this is interesting how I got here. So I started like I just went back to the beginning and I started writing kind of my life. And so as I started casually writing it, it started to reveal a whole bunch more stuff. And it went from like whatever in my phone to laptop to like, oh, I think I have something here. I'm willing to write a little bit every day to kind of show what I've been through, my low moments, and then how I kind of shifted things around and kind of went after what I wanted in life, and was just like, kind of like you mentioned at the beginning, the multidimensionality thing, where it's like I just do what I want, just be who I am, and go for it. So, um, the through line of it was just like it goes back to like my earliest days of, having some, you know, difficult things happen, like I'm not going to get into too much of it, but like,
Yeah.
my parents owned a motorcycle dealership. My dad was a racer, and we lost the shop. He stopped racing, and our house burnt down like within 6 months. So like my whole world crashed, it was just
Just yeah,
gone.
gone.
So we're just in this trailer, and we didn't have power or running water or anything. And but I had this little keyboard, and like, 5, 6 years old, I think I'm 6 at this time. I just went
You start
inside it.
toying with it. You just yeah.
Yeah. It's like, wow, this world's pretty cool. Like this thing, I'm in my own world here. It's my own little safety net. And I think that just in writing the book, I realized how big of a seed that was for me, because it became my thing in that moment. And then I just started recording myself and taking a song and then recording it over the song, and really doing some really primitive sound engineering stuff at 6, 7 years old. Um, and that has been what it's been since then, and so the book kind of goes into the anchors that help sustain me through the difficulties, and then kind of when I decided, when I was kind of slipping and had some difficulties in life, and was like, you know what, I'm gonna just go ahead and change everything here. So then it was, it's really a moment where I'm like, I'm gonna take music seriously. I'm gonna eat right. I'm gonna give up these substances. I'm gonna, go back to school. It was kind of just like I just decided I wanted to be more, and do more, and I didn't really recognize who I was in that moment. Like it was like I'm so far off from what I think I'm supposed to be that like just kind of stepping back, I was like, all right, enough's enough of this. I'm gonna flip this around. So it goes into that journey, and it goes into like the fun experiences I've had with music and traveling around, and the trials and tribulations, and the rejections you have as an artist, and the successes, and um really kind of just the whole process. And I called it finding purpose through pain, because I think that's really like there's a truth to that runs to my core, where it's like when the negative things happen, or when difficulties happen, like there's also some like fuel in that, like as an artist especially,
Well, yeah,
like
yeah. It's
look at
literally
all
the
the great art.
trailer park thing you were talking about. In the trailer, through all this pain, the losing the shop, house burning down, you find purpose. You find this keyboard, and it kickstarts this whole music career you have now. And so like there's always going
Yeah,
to be some good, hopefully, that comes out of it. And it can provide that escape in that moment also of like, it's not all negative. There's I get these little moments of just really making music, exploring, trying out this new thing and playing around with this keyboard.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh
that's go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead. I don't want to like cut you off or end any topics early. So like please if you have
No,
more to
no,
say.
no, it's just and then from there, it's like it's finding connections to music at any part of the journey um that make you feel like part of something, so like before really making music, it's like it's really, it never ends, but like, you know listening to whatever music activates that within us, that we're like, oh, that emotion I feel like, that emotion, that's really what I'm going through, and so
Yeah,
whatever that music gives, I find it a special thing, that connection to it, and just like thinking about like, okay, why is that type of music, um, you know, resonating with me so much right now? You know what I mean? And
yeah,
why do I feel closer to um that artist than maybe some people? Like I don't feel like, maybe I don't feel like I'm being heard by some, but within this music, I feel like I'm really connected, so
absolutely. Yeah. And it's about, there's some degree of like subject matter hearing someone else going through what you're going through or something similar, or like taking a song and you can attach your own memories to it, the same or like similar experiences. It helps get you through stuff. But also, I just saw this quote from Skrillex about just like the human element of it being like knowing that there's someone else out there who not only went through whatever you're going through, but now like is making music around it, helping you get through that
yeah,
same dark time. And so like if there's some other kid in a trailer somewhere now listening to Ben Barbic music and like gets inspired by that, gets that little escape that the keyboard gave you, it'd be awesome.
exactly right. Yeah, and that's part of like what the book is too, like trying to just um plant a little seed in people to make that subtle change of like, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to get after this thing that I've been not really doing right now. Like if it's music or whatever, it's like I've had people do that a lot with the book, and they're like, you inspired me to get a rig again and start playing. And it's like, and then I hear that they're doing it, and I'm like, man, that's amazing,
That's
or
awesome.
like, yeah, it just feels good to say, all right, it was worth kind of exposing a story, my whole story, because obviously that's super vulnerable. Like music's vulnerable, and you got to deal with rejection, but then there's like your story and putting that
Yeah,
out there,
it's different of like, finding some instruments, making it sound good and making a song versus just like word for word writing out a story of what happened to you and like being very like what's the word, like straightforward and honest about like thought, like just putting thoughts on paper and sharing that directly
exactly.
without any kind of like fluff.
Yeah, well, and then it's like too, like I felt like I couldn't cheat the reader, like like it took me
Hmm.
like 8 years to write the whole book, man, because I was like, I had to just really
Oh,
work at it. So
yeah.
like I tell a story, but then you like glaze over it, you know what I mean? Like you don't really dive into it, so then it's like, well,
Yeah.
no, I gotta give the real deal here. Like, why am I telling this story, find underneath it what it is, you know so I think sometimes I caught myself doing that, which it's like, um that was the real work, is when you know when I had to dive in and say, all right, let me give really what I was thinking, or really what the situation was.
Well, so the through line conversation we were having with like albums and stuff, how does that come into a writing process, especially an 8 year writing process for like a book
Yeah.
like this,
Uh-huh.
and also just like moving the pieces around and like when to dive into things, and I haven't read the book, but I'm sure there's moments where like you mentioned something over here and over here. So like which one do you give the context? What comes first? Just tell me about like organizing the book and making it coherent.
Yeah, so I think what it really came down to was the reason of why am I telling it. So I had to really analyze, like, especially music related. Like sometimes I was just proud to have met somebody, or like taking a meeting with somebody. But it was like, why am I saying that's not a story? That's just like, okay, I met that person and then nothing came of it other than whatever, right? And so
Yeah.
I had to be honest about that type of stuff first. Is like, why am I saying this? Why am I bringing up this person? Is it that they did something that I feel slighted? Well, that's not really what this is about. It's about my life and how I felt and reacted to things. And so I just had to analyze because it's a through line. Like the book is because it's my life. It's a through line through it, and because I always
Hmm.
have made music, every chapter's a song that I made during that time. So
Nice.
it's easy from that to go back to what you're saying because it's like an album because every chapter's a
Yeah.
song title that I made.
It's a song sequence.
Yeah, yeah. So it was very easy, and it's got the lyrics in there, and like in the audiobook, it's got the actual song. So that was fun, like to do the
Nice.
audiobook.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it was just I just had to really dive into what the meaning of the story was, and does that fit within the framework of my life and the premise, of what I found my life was about. And that really was like, um, taking control, like don't just let things happen to you, but like decide how you're going to react to them, and then instead of when things happen, kind of going negative with it, but finding the opposite of that, finding the purpose in it, finding the motivation in it, and then just like full steam forward, no matter what, like just music forward always. I'm not doing this for like a certain time period. It's like, this is just what I'm going to do forever, and then kind of approaching it like that. Um, so these are just the kind of the concepts that I um came up with for through really diving in.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I totally get that. I really get the forever aspect of it. You've been doing it since six or whatever, and now doing it now, and it seems like doing it far into the future. And I loved hearing the parallels between the book and music. Do you see, just to tie in that other hyphen or other industry I brought up with the real estate, do you see any parallels between like that and music or the promotion side of music? Because especially like getting a song heard, it's one thing to put it out. Now you got to get people to listen to it. You got to get eyes and ears on it. And so,
Yeah.
is there anything kind of similar with like houses or properties of like continuously trying to push, find a buyer, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think I really like that you asked this because I think it did give me a gift. I don't want to keep saying I mentioned this, but like this is something I dove into and kind of realizing like, a lot of that industry was front facing and full of rejection, so like you're in an industry where you're front facing, whether meeting people in like open houses or trying to get your client um deals. You deal with a lot of rejection, but you got to just keep on no matter what it is, and deal with the stigmas people have for that industry too, and all
Yeah.
of that. So, as an artist who identifies as an artist and kind of superseding any of that stuff is kind of an interesting way to go about it too, where um the main focus is to keep going and not worry about the rejection or the difficulties. And it's the same thing in music. It's like exactly the same, like I think it was very important for me to kind of learn that in music or in writing too, because they all helped me kind of just say it's all right. I'm putting it out. There's always going to be another song. There's always going to be more writing and more, public speaking type things and podcasts. Like, that mentality is really freeing to me. So it's the same thing if you're selling houses or whatever. Like it's like this is something I'm in. I'm doing it, but this doesn't define me. The win doesn't define me. The loss doesn't define me. This is just what I need to do to survive, to make money, to keep doing the things that I love, because that's really ultimately for me what it came down for. I was in sound engineering school when I was 22 and my son was born. And so I had to flip and make money. And so I was like, well, real estate I could sustain. I had to go pick him up on Fridays, and it was like 4 or 5 hours every Friday to pick him up.
Oh,
So it was like I could still pick him up. I could still make music, and I could earn money and cultivate something. And so it was really good from that perspective for me. So it kind of established this like multi-dimensionality that at the surface didn't fit at all. It's like, well, those are very different pieces. But fast forward 20 years, and those pieces just all kind of kept going
Developing
forward.
and brought you
Yeah,
to where you are here. And it really they grow on their own and are separate enough that like they're not too codependent on each other.
exactly.
One's success or failure doesn't mean the other's success or failure. Are you a music artist looking to get your songs on Spotify, Apple Music, and basically every other streaming platform? Then you should check out Distrokid. Distrokid is a music distribution service. It's what I use to get all my music out across platforms, and I find it really helpful. You can manage your songs, lyrics, credits, and even manage releases across artists under one account. I don't think I would have gotten started as early as I did with music if it weren't for DistroKid. So if you want to get started, I'll put their pricing on the screen here. And yes, that does say the cheapest plan is at $2 a month. I know some of you spend more than that every day on your coffees. Like this is to get your music heard by the world. But we're getting off track. DistroKid has so many additional features like pre-save pages, getting your music onto platforms like Instagram and TikTok, where people can put your music on their posts. If you use my link in the description, you will get 7% off any of these plans, making it even cheaper to get your career started, and so much more. So again, check out my link in the description for 7% off any plan. And now let's get back to the episode. With that kind of schedule, like balancing all those things, whether it's back then or now, how do you just go about like getting everything done, balancing it? Are you more of a schedule person, like do what feels right or go with the flow kind of person? How do you make sure you're giving adequate attention to the real estate, to the music, to your son, things like that?
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's the kind of the same way I was describing which song to work on. So
Hmm.
it's like what coal is burning the hottest that needs to be handled, and that's not just putting out fires. I mean, just which thing needs to be prioritized at any given time. And so I think that's how I've evaluated it for a long time is which thing is pressing that needs to be my focus. Sometimes it's like if real estate is really crowded that week, then it's a hyper focus on that. I will still do the music, I'll still do the other things, but it's like this week needs to be primarily focused on that.
Yeah.
Or if music opportunities in this week is going to be primarily focused on that with dumping into this as I need to, but not there's no solicitation, there's no like going out
Yeah.
and soliciting clients or checking in. Like there's none of
Don't
that.
add
It's
anything new to the plate. Just like deal what you have already.
yeah, yeah, deal with what you have and then cultivate that which seems like the most pressing thing to cultivate at that time. And so shifting, I think it's just about shifting and then really switching hats quickly, I think is what it comes down to. So like if I went from this and then I had to take a client call to negotiate a deal and then I was going to record the song, it's just feeling okay flipping, you know,
Yeah.
is what is a challenge, but I think that's what it takes, I think, to be able to do. And if you have like a 9 to 5 where you can't do it as freely as real estate, then it would just be, blocking out that time, um, whatever in the morning or night. I like the mornings because everything's quiet and the phone doesn't ring. So it's
Yeah.
like mornings are cool because um not for making music, but like they're cute, they're good to do the other stuff.
Yeah, yeah, the little things, whatever gets, maybe it's like getting things done around the house or things, or anything that just like any hobbies or things that you enjoy. I don't get up this early myself, but like I've listened to other podcasts, some other creators I'm a fan of have talked about like getting up in the morning, and yeah, they do some morning routine things, breakfast, go to the gym, whatever, but then like they get up early enough, maybe up early enough, maybe it's 5 a.m., which I couldn't do, but they'll do that. And then they have like an hour before work or whatever they're doing. And they're like, okay, I'll watch a movie. I'll play a video game. Like
Yeah,
whatever most people are doing later in the day after work, they
right.
get that little moment. And like you said, no, everyone else is asleep. So they're not bothering you. Nothing like spontaneously comes up or things. Cause
Hmm.
I've had that plenty of times where I sit down and I'm finally like, okay, this is where I'm gonna
really work on this song or lock in on this, and then I get a text or a call like, hey, could we do this? Do you want to do this? Whatever, and I just get
Yeah.
pulled in that other direction immediately.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's right. And like for me, I really like the morning to read and then
Yeah.
write, So like I'll write because I'm really trying to push that craft as far as I can. And so like I'll read something and then I'll write for 20 minutes or something like that, where it's
Is
just
that writing like music and lyrics or like writing like
yeah, writing, yeah,
literarily
like right
literary
now
stuff?
literally, yeah, it's
I
like
don't know.
no, no, you got it. It's right. Like right now I'm writing the book too. So like I've been writing that
Okay.
for a while, and so it's just about I don't know, man. Like it's like pushing the craft forward. I'm
Yeah.
fascinated with that. So it's like I would just want to keep pushing it, keep pushing the craft and working at it. So that's usually what I'll use my morning for. And then um like email reach out in Europe's up earlier. So like you can always get your Europe stuff going, whatever's over there because um they're obviously way ahead of us. So
Yeah.
so that's kind of fun. So it's like I guess in some ways, like a lot of the musical stuff, if it's from Europe, that's all that comes in at, you know, 3 to 6 a.m.
Hmm.
It's like you don't have anything here. So it's kind of fun because it doesn't have any of the other stuff yet. So you
It
can
kind of
dive into that.
separates itself from like the domestic stuff, the
Yeah.
US stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you so tied in with the Europe and international stuff? Even like scheduling this, we had one day and you had to reschedule from like Italy and Croatia travels. How where does that connection come from for you?
Um, so I think just making music, it can be such an international thing now. And so
Yeah.
I happen to make a connection with the producer named Israel Ronaldo um like 10 years ago. And so I got to know him pretty well. I went out there, I spent a month out there recording and just working with a bunch of different artists. That really established France for me. And then I met Alboa. I think he reached out to me online and said, hey, you want to work. And he happened to be from Paris as well. So it just kind of happened like that. Majore, I think a lot of this is just online reach out, man, like social
Yeah.
media. And I'll do the same thing. Like if I hear an artist I like, I'll just reach out and say, hey, do you want to work on something?
Me
Like,
too. Yeah.
right. So and it's just like I don't even know where they're at. And sometimes it's just like, hey, let's work if you want to work. And so I mean that's the fun part about it. And so that's just kind of how it happens. It wasn't like I originally had any roots in France or anything like that. It just kind of happened that way. And then through Israel, I got introduced to Zach Reed with Rebel Sound Records, and then signed with him, released a bunch of things through him. The network kind of, it's just all about like you get the different connections, and then it kind of opens up new doors.
If you love live music and going to concerts, you need to get yourself some Loop earplugs. I made a video on my second YouTube channel about Loop earplugs. I did a review for them by bringing them to a concert, and they were the best earplugs I've ever used. They do a great job at blocking out crowd noise, but still allowing you to hear the music. They come in this tiny, very portable case. You can see it's like a fraction of the size of my hand. Plus, they just look awesome. I got the ones that they did in collaboration with the Tomorrowland Music Festival, and they look awesome. They say live, love, unite on them. You can see they're in a cool circular design, so even when you have them in, you don't just have this big block plugging up your ears. There's a nice ring, makes it look a bit more stylish than normal earplugs. I have the Loop Experience 2s in collaboration with Tomorrowland, and even with the earplugs themselves, they sent me 4 sizes of tips. Extra small, small, large, and medium is already loaded in there. So there's plenty of customization. It should fit your ears no matter what with one of those sizes. Use my referral code in the description to get 15% off your pair of Loop earplugs. Back to the episode.
The song These Dreams that you have, which
Right.
is like one of the bigger songs on streaming at least. And pretty different from the acoustic like thank you vibes we brought up earlier. What went into making that song? Did you expect the reaction it's gotten, anything like that?
Yeah, you never know the reaction of music, right? You just don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And it's
You don't
it's
know.
literally like scratching a lotto ticket. You're just like, I hope this one
Totally.
does well.
Totally. I'm completely blind to what is going to do on that side of things. And that one, These Dreams, I had written a demo draft of it that I just produced the rhythm on my own. And then I sent it to Alboa, and I'm like, hey, what do you think of this one? You want to try and do something? He's like, I think I got something for this. I think I got something. So he redid it. He redid the rhythm of it, and then I redid the verses. We kept the hook the same, and it just kind of flowed together naturally. And he kind of heard where it needed to go. So I think that's one of those that it's really fun where I have an idea, and then a producer can kind of take that idea and interpret the musical bed underneath it, and it lands like that. So yeah, we released that one, and it did well, and then just really picking up pace. It's interesting how music does that, but that one definitely
Yeah.
is doing the best right now. I think it's at like 100, almost 150,000, which is great for my music, and it just seems like it just keeps on ticking upward, man. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I love the tune, and that's kind of how it is. And it was just um Don't Wake Me From These Dreams was just kind of like about life when you're doing the things that you want to do, and it was kind of like I was just like somewhere I was like thinking about like looking over to my wife and be like, hey, we're doing all right here, like life's
Yeah.
pretty good, like don't wake me from this, like whatever, if this is a dream I don't want to wake, like that's the line I have.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it's what sometimes life is like that, where you're just like, man,
Absolutely. Yeah.
this is pretty
Well, was
good.
that just a general feeling, or was there any like specific moment that you got that almost like an I made it moment, or like a oh we're good, like this is working moment?
Yeah, I think I don't remember the exact pinpoint moment, but I think it's
Yeah.
just like when a day just like everything's just kind of lining up,
Yeah.
and there's just not, you just are like one thing after another. It's like, wow, this is all right. And I think it just had to do with that, where like I just felt like life was so far from darkness, like it was so far from the difficult days that it's like um it doesn't even feel like life in a way. It feels like
Yeah.
you're dreaming something, or it's like a movie, or type of thing. So that, I think it's just like that. I don't remember like one specific moment, but it was definitely just what I was feeling. And like I said, just came out in a draft, and then Alboa took it from there.
Yeah. That's awesome. Awesome. And then beyond like your own stuff, you also I think maybe you mentioned it before, but you mix and master for other people as well. You do some post production with Where Dreams Sail Studios. How do you, I feel like this is a common theme in our conversation so far of compartmentalization. Like how do you approach something that you're mixing and mastering for a client versus like your own song, your own stuff that you've seen the process of?
Yeah, I would say most of the time it's the evolution of my mixing has to do with bringing out the tricks that I've learned and applied to my own music. The one variance is when an artist wants a particular sound, or a
Yeah.
particular vocal treatment, or the way they want their drums to sound, or usually like just listening to the catalog and saying, okay, they want music more in this identity, and so I think at the same time though, I don't want to be too cautious about that. Like, because if someone says, hey, work on this project, I also want to make sure I'm being consistent with what I am,
Hmm.
because I don't want to pretend like, okay, I'm going to be a totally different mixing engineer than what I do. And so that way
Yeah.
it's like, that's my brand, or that's my signature. And so that way I can stay within that. I think it's just kind of, I guess the final thing in that is like just having confidence in what I'm doing, and how I'm applying it for my own music, and then just adding that to others, because my whole goal the whole time was just to just get good at mixing for my own music. Like I just wanted to get good at it for myself. Like I was going to sound engineering school because I
Yeah.
just wanted to learn how to do it so I could do it for myself. And then I did a mix on a tune, for a rhythm. Zach sent over a rhythm, by the guy named DJ, JFX, dancehall rhythm maker, and I did the mix, and he's like, "Man, who did the mix on it?" And I was like, "It was me." And he's like, "Oh, dude, I didn't know you mix like that." Like this was early when I met him, And
Yeah.
so then from then it was like, okay, then I started mixing for people and things like that. So I didn't ever like solicit business, or I don't solicit business now. It's just kind
Yeah.
of, as projects come in, if it's something that I have time to do, right, and fits, then
Mhm.
I'll do it. I have to be way more selective now, but that's, yeah, that's kind of the evolution of it.
Well, that's just, yeah, your work speaking for itself. It's not a, reaching out, finding people to mix for, to collaborate with. It's people seeking out the sound you have or the product you put out and being like, okay, this is what I want. Who did this? And they come looking for you, which is like the mark of a great engineer, producer, whatever aspect it is, even songwriter. Um, there's stories like that all over the place because you listen to enough of someone and you're gonna hear similar things or like get a sense of their sound or their identity, like you were saying.
Right. Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. Back to like, those early days just playing with the keyboard. Were you listening to a lot of music at that point? Who were some of the musical inspirations in the early days, whether it's then or like starting to pursue music? Who kind of inspired you to like go for it or just fall in love with music?
Yeah. Well, for me, originally it was hip hop music, and
Hmm.
I talk a little bit about this. Is like the Naughty by Nature song, Everything's Gonna Be All Right, was this song that just hit me like to my soul. Cause I was struggling, I was grinding around. It was like 11 years old when that came out. And it was like I connected with that song because he was being more honest than I had heard in a vocal. Like he was really showing his own vulnerabilities, his own troubles, and he was being really straightforward about it. And so that kind of started me down the path of lyricism and like truth in music, and really identifying with that, is that, and then the just the soul of the first listens of Bob Marley, like the way that he just, like, to me, just as an artist, how honest it feels, how authentic it feels, how just powerful the vocals are. It's just I believe him fully, like there's nothing
Yeah.
in his songs where I'm like, I don't know, he might just saying that. Like, no, he's in it, and so that was kind of on the reggae side. Obviously most people start with him, but and it's he's so good that it's become such a generalized thing to say, but I think like it doesn't, and sometimes I've not even mentioned him because I'm like, well, everyone goes to him, but it's like he's that good where it's
Yeah.
like I'm still taking notes. I'll still watch his live performances all the time on YouTube because I want to soak in like that level of performance,
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's very much like, admittedly, I'm not like super deep into reggae, so I don't know all the deep cuts, maybe some like classics, pioneers of the space, but I feel like that's a very ubiquitous for genre, like the top guy or the heights that you reach, for rap, there's the debates of like Biggie or Tupac. For
Right.
for rock, some people love the Beatles, some people don't. But like for reggae, like it all seems to come back to Bob Marley and like him being at the top of the game. And so there's something special to it to just like have such clear dominance over a genre, over a sound. Um, or not even dominance, but just like pushing it forward or getting eyes and ears on it, or like having people discover it through you and your music.
Totally. Yeah, exactly right. And we have to, I guess, we got to give credit to how influential like Bob Marley was to just
Yeah.
generations of people after that, like the branches that have come from him, and Peter Tosh too, I'd say. It's like it's significant. So yeah, that music made a big impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, I want to get into, because you mentioned coming from hip hop roots, liking hip hop at a young age, and I feel like in these interviews with rappers, I hear all these crazy stories of how fast they can come up with songs or lyrics or things. So is there a song of yours that just like came together super fast? You wrote it really fast, and what was the fastest process you've had in a song?
Um, so there's a song called Unknown Road I did, which opened a lot. It was like 10 years ago, and it's a song I just did on my own and independently. And on that song, I just sat down and I wrote it. Um, it just flowed out, you know, it just kind of
Nice. Yeah.
it's
The
out.
one sitting.
And
Just
yeah, one
yeah.
sitting, it just kind of just flows out. And I think that often that'll happen now. Kind of going back to what I said before, like because I'm like waiting for being ready, it'll many times now it'll be an hour session and I'll have it down because like thank you was like that. Like most songs, if I'm in that pocket, it's an hour, hour and a half of just and then
Yeah.
there it is, you know. And so I think there's ways where I can like, you know, more freestyle it. Like in the earlier days, I would more freestyle it and run it through. But now I kind of do it a little bit differently where I make sure that I'm chopping it and making, you know, making sure that every line I like no weak lines kind of thing where it's like every line really matters to me.
Yeah.
So I think just it's actually gotten quicker as time goes on because of just when you're not playing around with finding what you want to say. Like as long as I got something to say, it can, you know, hour is good,
Yeah.
you know, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the flip side of it, I just because I want to hear like the opposite end of the spectrum, is there any song that took a long time you had to keep coming back to, keep doing revisions to finally like get it to a finished product?
Yeah, there's this song I did called Move On, um, that I worked on for like a month and did like 40 variations of, you know, like I just kept grinding and fighting through it and just kept going, do. And so sometimes I think I do find the spot within those, you know, like the long charges through, but I think it's very easy to get lost in it. I'm sure you feel like this as a producer. Like if you're sitting in a song too long and you got like 10 different leads that you're playing
Yeah.
around with, it's like you just start losing track of what even the song is anymore. So then it's like
Or
step
you
back.
lose track of that, and like 10 versions later, you're like, what if I tweak this? And you look back and you just put it right back to where it was in that
Yeah,
first version. And you're
yeah,
like, okay, and then well, I'm running in circles now. Like, I need to just pick something and finish it.
exactly. Yeah. When I and actually I did that one. Now you made me think of this. I did one like that for this album. I did like me and John did four different versions of the Unknown Road that we're putting on the album, like four of them, like
Mhm.
drastically different ones. And it was like, oh, then we went back to the first one and it's like, nah, that's the one we're gonna use on the album. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we got lost in the thing. So yeah, that's a struggle of it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, for for looking back at the catalog, because you have so much music, you know, is there anything of yours that you wish got a bit more attention? That's kind of like a deep cut to you. You wish more people had heard.
Um, I would say some of the more dance hall based things, I thought would have done a little bit better. Um,
Mm.
so like there's a yeah, there's like a whole bunch of them that I really enjoy that um trying to think I've got so many songs I put out. I'm gonna just try and see which
Yeah,
one
yeah, no, go ahead. And there,
because
I mean, it sounds like there's one that's gonna come up or one in your mind, but there's no pressure to have an answer or anything because we already talked about like no expectations of of putting music out or like not knowing how it'll do. Um, but yeah, I'm just always curious to hear you know, people are like if there's any lesser known song that they
yeah.
love of like their own
Okay,
music.
I got it. I had to find in my mind.
Yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah,
song
no
called
no worries at all.
there's a song called Storm, which I really like. I really
Okay.
vibe on the song. And it was like really kind of it's more gritty, it's more grimy. Um, but I always really like the song. And every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, I love this tune, you know, like it. And it just didn't grab like I thought it would. And maybe because it's more dance hall and the audience is more like modern reggae, you know what I mean? And that type of
Yeah.
thing. So I think that one, song called Bumpy Ride, is another one that is in that same category um that I thought. So yeah, Bumpy Ride and Storm are the two that I personally was like, huh, audience isn't feeling that like I thought they
Yeah.
would, you know?
That's all
Um,
right. That's all right.
yeah.
Hopefully some dance hall audience will find it one day.
I hope
One
so. I hope
eventually.
so,
And
man.
I want to go listen to that once we're done here. Now I'm curious like
Yeah,
when
yeah,
they're
check
like
them out. I'd love to know what
yeah.
you think of them.
Yeah, yeah. And you brought up briefly like some live commitments. You do a couple live shows, live things. What how did you start doing that? What was the first live thing you did, or what was the moment to be like, let me try performing some of this?
First shows I did was like at colleges. So you would just go to like the community centers and do shows at colleges. So it started out like that. Um, down in Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, I did some shows down there. Um, and then I was in a hip hop group and we played a ton of shows, um, just all over Northern California. So we would play just all the time. We'd open for acts when they came to town, and um, we kind of would just take whatever we could get and get the reps in, and so it kind of just grew out of that, um, and just kind of build, and it was just really taking whatever and then opening for acts when they came to town was a big part of it. So I had fun with that, and then as a solo artist, I haven't been able to tour as much as like I would just because of commitments, but I've had some good ones. I one of my favorites was in Las Vegas. A guy named DJ Power. He's DJed for some massive names. We did. He had a residency in Vegas, so me and him were out there for a couple weeks doing shows, and I love that. That was just fun, man. It's just great time. Um, so I think that one sat well with me. And then just whenever I get to travel around, like last year I went out to Florida and they call it Reggae in the Jungle, and that was fun show I did out there. So I
Yeah.
just trying to balance it out. And I think, what I'm trying to do with this new set with John is like take something that we can play where I got some book stuff where we can do smaller venues where we can open for acts, and just kind of take that element to it. I'm excited to check out the acoustic type of um scenario, live,
Yeah,
live. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, maybe I mean, maybe this acoustic thing is putting in extra pep in your step, but is the live thing something you seek out, you want, or is it more like when you get the chance to do it? Because I basically what I'm wondering is that like is there a kind of bucket list or like certain shows or venues you want to play and be like, oh, I want to do this one day, I want to do X Y Z, whatever.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's really like that. I think it's more just an exposure thing. I don't have a venue where I'm really focused on. I think
Yeah,
the one around like Shoreline, I'd love to play Shoreline, which is one of the big venues here, like in the Bay Area. So Shoreline
yeah,
would be amazing. So I think next I'd love to open for one of the acts at Shoreline. I think that'd be amazing. So that would probably be one I'd put on there.
awesome. Yeah, yeah, and whether it is being an opening act, anything else we've talked about the show or something new, what tips or advice would you give to people just starting their career, trying to grow a music career, things like that, other than going to read Rise and Climb and learning from your experience?
Yeah, no, I just say just kind of head down and just do it as much as you can, and don't look at one thing as like just if you commit to doing it for life, like this is just what I do, and say this is something I love so much that I'm not going to ever retire from it. I'm going to just do this forever. I think it's the right mind state, because then it comes from a place of truly loving it, and you're not really that concerned with anything along the journey, whether that's highs, lows, or anything. It's just this is what I do. And so I would say just commit to this is something that you enjoy having in your life, and you're gonna just do that. And it's just gonna be something enjoyable to progress with. Um, and don't hesitate, don't hesitate to get on the stage or to put out the song. I think that's what I see a lot of times is people get stuck creating it and don't ever release it or let it go to the next level. And I would just encourage like put stuff out, feel the A to Z process of like idea to releasing it, and then
Mhm.
feel it again, and just always be looking at that next thing. And to me it's really comforting to look at stuff like that, because then we don't have to get caught up in um any of the chatter around it otherwise, or your numbers, or like this is just, even if it's 2 listeners a month, I'm still going to do it kind of thing, where it's just like head down, this is what I'm going to do. And I think that's the right mentality, to not get stuck, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Just keep going regardless of results or things. Don't be
Yeah.
discouraged, and know that it's for you, not necessarily for a certain result or for getting the turning it into some career. Hopefully it turns into a career, but like don't aim for the money, the recognition, whatever. Just do it because it's for you and you love to do it.
Yeah, man. And then learn as you go. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what did I learn from putting out this track? You know, like what was it? What did I learn? And so I think that's another piece too, is just soaking
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
in to just say, all right, I'm trying to crack the code here. How else can I, you know, maneuver this thing?
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. What is there, for people listening, I brought up at the start, like describing your music for someone who may not have known. Let's say someone doesn't know it, they heard this, and now they're like, I like this guy. I want to hear some of the reggae stuff he does. Anything else, just any of his music. Is there any song that you would recommend as like an intro to Ben Barbic, the kind of music you make, something you want people to hear?
I would actually say, because this is just what I've been kind of, as I'm practicing the set, I would say, um, These Dreams, the song I just released called Breathe, um,
Mm-hmm.
and then Thank You, is a good start to it. And then past that, um, I would probably recommend an old cut that doesn't get much play, but I would recommend a song I made called Unknown Road, because that's the start. I released that song and then I instantly got flown out to New York, and met with some record labels and things. And it was the start of my journey. I think it was, yeah, 10 years ago. That song really started my journey, and it's a raw song. It's almost, but the significance of it is it really changed my trajectory,
It's a
and it
turning
was
point right there in the
turning
career.
point.
Yeah.
So I would say from a narrative perspective, that's a good one to listen to, because um, I had like an urgency in my voice. I was ready to kind of wherever music's going to take me. I was ready to go there, and so
Yeah.
that was the beginning of it in many ways. So I'd
Yeah. If
listen to that one.
anything's gonna happen from this, now's the time.
That's it. Exactly right. Yeah. So I checked that one out too.
Yeah. Are any of these, and there's no pressure to have an answer for this because I know it's next to impossible to answer, but are any of these like your favorite song you've made, or do you even have a favorite song of yours?
Uh, uh,
Yeah. You can have
I
no
think,
answer, multiple answers,
well,
whatever.
no, I think a lot of times it's really whatever one I just came out with, because
Yeah,
like
the most recent one.
it's top of mind. I'm in it in that moment, because like the reality is whatever's the latest song is where I've been at most recently, mentally.
Yeah,
And so I connect with it the most. Um, and I think that has to be my answer. I know that doesn't give you the concrete piece
that's
of
right.
like, but I think that's probably it. And if you just go, you go on Spotify and like listen to the top 10, most of those are newer. Most of those are kind of what I've made recently anyway. So
Mhm.
like that pretty much shows like where I've been at lately. Um,
Yeah, yeah. There's nothing wrong with that answer. Maybe it's more common than you'd think, but that's like a super common answer I get.
oh, is it?
I think it is. I think it's something about people who release music that like be again because you have to be so invested in it, and there's so much that goes into a song. Like inevitably, you're gonna love it. There's gonna be passion behind it if you get to the point of releasing it. Just
Yeah,
with like the pure hours you've put in, there's something to it that is special. um
that's all right. I
and
think you're right.
yeah, yeah. Is there any, again, it could be the same as the live venue where you're just going with the flow, but is there any kind of dream collaboration you would want to do? If you got to pick any artist to work with, who would you want to make a song with?
Um, I think for me, there's some artists that I'd love to work with. Like, I don't know if you know dancehall music at all, but Busy Signal is a big artist
Okay.
that I'd
I've
love to
heard the
work with.
name. I don't know the music
Yeah.
very well, but I've heard the name.
Collie Buds. I'd love to work with Collie Buds, who's another, he produces his own music. He's an engineer. I think he went to Full Sail. So he'd be a great one to work with. So I think, particularly those two artists, I think of, just top of mind that I'd love to work with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'd
Nice.
also I'd also like to do a song with Tretch of Naughty by Nature, to be honest with you, because He was like the guy I looked up to as a kid and like memorized his lyrics. So him, him as well.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I hope any and all of those come true for you. I see this going up and up, continuing to rise after the climb. Those are all the questions I had for you today, Ben. So thanks so much for coming on. I loved hearing more about the book, the music, everything. But I really appreciate it. And if there's anything you want to shout out, promote, anything else you want to touch on, feel free to do that now. Bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you. Yeah, so I just books available now on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or Target. You can get it not in store, but you can buy it from
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And then just yeah, I'd love people to check out the music and then just let me know what you think. Like just if you gave it a listen or read the book or listened to the audio book, just let me know what you think. That's really what I find joy in is if people connected with it and just if they vibe to what I'm putting out.
Yeah. It's all about the feedback and the fan,
Yeah,
not even, regardless of feedback, just like the actual connection, the fan connection, human connection, everything like that.
exactly.
And so,
Exactly.
yeah, awesome. Well, I had a great time. I hope you did too. And
Absolutely.
go read Rise and Climb and listen to the music.
All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.